Yeah. Carl Fergie and Norman Frederick Charles III beat Pat Rose and Ken Hall. The Fantastic Ones beat Rick Connors and Sam the Samoan. French Angel and the Bounty Hunter beat Pat Rose and Steve-O. Brett Wayne double count out with the Stray Cat. Bill Dundee beat Gene Spurlock. That was the TV tapings. Now, the card that night was Dutch Mantell beat Bill Dundee in a bullwhip match. Terry Taylor and Bobby Fulton beat Norman Frederick Charles III and Carl Fergie. The Stray Cat beat Larry Hare. The French Angel and Bounty Hunter beat Brett Wayne and Pat Rose, and Steve-O beat Bill Rose.
Let's talk a little bit about the French Angel and the Bounty Hunter. The Bounty Hunter, Jerry Novak, was a huge star in the 70s. Him and David Novak, the Bounty Hunters, drew a lot of money with Jim Kent. When he came back this time, he was with Frank Morrell, the French Angel. Those two guys truly put Terry Taylor, and if anybody got to see these matches, they really put Terry Taylor and Bobby Fulton through the hard school of knocks, so to speak, because they had some great matches with those guys.
You know, Jerry Novak, the first time I ever worked with him was in Nashville, and he was a very, very imposing figure. And he was very quiet in the locker room. And the one thing I remember was getting to call his action in the ring. And there was just a little something different. And Jackie, as a promoter and a booker, you understand this. Jerry would put those punches in a little bit harder. And Jerry would put his knees a little bit harder and would put those slams a little bit faster. The beauty of it was being able to watch a gentleman who was a prime in his profession. I mean, he had mastered his profession, and he taught a lot of boys, I think, learned, like you just said, Brett, from the hard knocks from working with Jerry Novak, because I don't think a young wrestler came out of the ring after wrestling in a match with Jerry Novak, whether it be singles or tag team, without some respect for what he did and how he did it, and learning from how he did it. Yes, Bill had actually worked for Nick and also had worked with Jerry when they first broke off in Memphis. And again, I was in Memphis in 77 when that all happened. And I'll tell you, Bill Dundee, if there is ever an underrated superstar in this business, both in behind the scenes and in the ring, and I know Bill Dundee was he's a small person like myself, but boy, you talk about when it comes to talent, when it comes to being able to he could stand with the giants. He's a giant in his own right, without a doubt. And I think he's one of the most underrated wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling in our era.
Yeah, I'll echo that.
You know, when I did a top 100 list, and I added Bill Dundee as one of the top, I would think one of the top 100 wrestlers of all time. And a lot of people, they didn't get to see him wrestle. They don't really understand that, because, you know, some people remember him as Sir William, but the Bill Dundee from 1975, when he got to Tennessee, and those matches he had with Jerry Lawler, he deserves to be. If there's a Hall of Fame, he needs to be in that Hall of Fame. There's no doubt.
Yep. I agree. I totally agree. And another thing too is I don't think a lot of people realize when he worked for Bill Watts and booked for Bill Watts, what a job he did there in New Orleans. For what he did with that New Orleans territory. I mean, the New Orleans territory was always good, as I understand it, but it was always sort of, there's a lot to do in New Orleans besides go to a professional wrestling match. But he set that whole area, that whole Arcadia area down in Baton Rouge and Alexandria and Lafayette and New Orleans and Jackson. He set that on fire with his booking, and that's a testament to him as well.
Yes, that's the biggest year Bill Watts ever had.
TV tape where the Fantastic Ones beat Pat Rose and Ken Hall. Stagger Lee, who was Coco Beware, beat Deke Rivers. I talked to Deke last year, as a matter of fact. Carl Fergie and Norman Frederick Charles III beat David Jones and Jeff Young. Bill Dundee beat Joe Lightfoot. Then the card that night was Joe Lightfoot beat Bill Rose. Steve-O beat Pat Rose. The Fantastic Ones beat the Angel and the Bounty Hunter. Stagger Lee beat Bill Dundee by DQ. Brett Wayne and Stray Cat beat Carl Fergie and Norman Frederick Charles in a no DQ, no time limit match.
Stagger Lee came in as the Southern Heavyweight Champion. Do you remember that, Michael?
I do. And Coco, let me tell you, he was one of the most impressive people that came in that whole period of time, in my opinion. And just watching him and looking at his raw talent, you just knew that good things were coming.
Yeah, Stagger Lee was very good. Bill Dundee and Stagger Lee really had better matches than Dutch Mantell. And I'll tell you a funny story. My dad was refereeing the matches at the Memorial Auditorium, and they had done something with the Southern title, and Bill had the Southern title, and he was up at the stage, and this was all ad-lib. They didn't talk about it, they didn't figure it out. And Dad went to the stage and grabbed a hold of the belt and said, "No, it's not your belt. You didn't win this belt." And Bill said, "Take a bump off the stage." Dad just kind of, he said, "What?" Before he could say what, Bill made that turn and came with that big hit he got and pushed him off the stage into the back rows. He was sitting. Dad comes back. He's sitting in the dressing room, and he's pulling down. He's got bruises on his back of his legs on the thing. And I came back there and I said, "Man, what a bump." He said, "I didn't want to take that bump. He made me take that." That's the kind of person Bill was, though. He didn't care because he would have took the bump. So he was going to make him take it too. It wasn't, he called it and he did it. So Bill was really great.